Hello, everybody. Welcome to GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports where every play counts. I'm Grant. I'm here with my co host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Grant. How are you?
Doing good. We got a lot to dig into, so we'll go ahead and start with our hot take of the week. What is your hot take for this week?
Yeah, I think we'll just make this a discussion, like a quick discussion thing. I'll kind of just say kind of how I'm feeling about it, but I think we need to bring back emotion into awards, especially the MVP with what we saw and Shea winning his back-to-back MVP for the NBA. We're gonna get into that a little bit more later, whether or not he deserved it, but it just you look back at other years prior of guys winning the MVP and just winning awards in general and what it really meant to these guys. And then the whole nonchalant thing, it's like I feel like to an extent it's kind of ruining the emotion and like the dedication of the sports just atmosphere. He's just kind of doing it to do it, and I think people say, "Oh, but Jokic does the same thing," which he does, but he doesn't put up a front for it. Like he that's just how he is. So I'm not defending that as much as I'm not defending that compared to SGA. So either way, I just wish we had emotion back into winning awards.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up the Jokic thing because that was one of the things that I was gonna get into because I saw
Hmm.
people like comparing the two. But for me, it's like SGA when he does the whole nonchalant act,
Right.
it feels like I'm trying to be cool. I want everyone to
Right.
like it's like almost like he wants everyone to look at him by him not being like wanting to be looked at, if that makes any sense. Like
Exactly.
he
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
wants to have that whole stigma of being the cool guy that doesn't care or anything like that. With Jokic, it's like that's just
He
who
just
he is.
doesn't.
He's just a
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
that like he just plays in the NBA. It's a job for him, and that's how it is. I mean, I like SG. I think he's a very talented player. I think he's the most valuable player on the Thunder. I think he's really brought that team around. He's super talented, but like it I just feel like why can you not show emotion winning an MVP, especially when you win it back to back years? I just feel like I don't know. You see it more and more throughout sports, guys just not
Mhm.
caring as much. And I'd much rather have a player on my team that cares too much about
Yeah,
something than not
yeah.
care at all. That's just how I feel personally. And like look at a guy like Wemby, for instance. You saw how much that game one meant to him, and we're gonna get into that later. It's like that's the type of player I want to cheer for personally. I'd rather cheer for a guy that is screaming and yelling and cares about like every single thing that he's doing. But that's just where I stand. I know everyone loves SGA for the most part, and I don't dislike SGA. I just think that show a little emotion. That's all.
Mhm. Like, I don't know if we're gonna see that kinda KD MVP speech in years to
Right.
come, just based on how the awards are being treated right now.
Right. Yeah. Those and that's a great point because like those speeches are some of the best speeches in sports that kids look up to when
Mhm.
they want to become a professional athlete. Those KD speeches, the Russell Westbrook speeches, the Giannis speeches, like all
Yep.
those things. It just seems like it's less and less. Like the new wave is for trying to act like you don't care, and I don't like that personally.
Right.
All right, now we'll go ahead and slide over to our underdog of the week. So, Mason, who is your underdog for this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it brief again. We're gonna get into it a little later. Dylan Harper, he really showed his presence with Fox not playing in Game One against the Thunder. He had 24, 11, and 6. So I thought he played great. The only thing I could, I guess, kind of dock him for a little bit is just being a little loose with the ball. But that comes with it when you're the facilitator. So yeah, just shout out Dylan Harper.
Yeah, just another very impressive young guard that San Antonio has. For him to step up with De'Aaron Fox missing game one, which we'll get into later. Yeah, he had a great game. Um, all right, for my underdog of the week, I am going with Diamondbacks third baseman Nolan Arenado because this guy in the first part of the season was absolutely terrible. Fans of the Diamondbacks were saying that he should be DFA'd because he was non-existent. He did no good for the team. But since April 21st, he has led the NL in OBP. And the other night, he had a big grand slam. So he's starting to look like the Nolan Arenado of old. So yeah, I'm gonna shout out him real quick. So Nolan Arenado is my underdog of the week.
Nice.
All right, now we'll go ahead and slide over to the NBA, and we'll start with an MVP discussion. Mason, did SGA deserve back-to-back MVPs, or should this award have gone to someone else?
I think it could have gone to one of two other people. Of course, SGA has great points per game, average 31. He had four, I think, rebounds per game and 3 assists per game. So nothing too impressive apart from the points per game. But then you look at Jokic, 28, 13, and 11, and then Luka, 33, 7.7, and 8. Um, I think the biggest reason why Luka wouldn't have won it this year is because he missed 18 games. That really impacted his chance of winning. You look at the votes, and it's really like the only person who received over 10 votes was SGA. I think, I don't know, was second place Jokic or was it Luka? I can't
It was
remember.
Jokic in second.
Okay. So, I mean, like Jokic or Luka, I would have been completely cool with. I think Jokic had a stronger case with just kind of more of with what he did, but as far as the actual true scorer and really balling out, it would have been Luka. But I just don't think SGA deserved to win it this year, and I kind of felt like all right, here you go, you're part of the best team in the league. Just it makes sense, and when it really doesn't. So I'm not, I don't agree with it, but that's just how it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, as far as the MVP discussion goes, I will say this. I do think that SGA is the most valuable player on the OKC Thunder, but I don't know if he should have won the award this year. Like you said, I feel like it could have gone to Jokic, it could have gone to Luka, it could have even, gone to Wemby maybe. But
Mhm.
here's the main thing that supports this case. When you look at the leaders and stats for this season, you look at points per game, the leader was Luka. You look at assists per game, it was Jokic. You look at rebounds per game, it was Jokic. If you look at steals per game, it was Asar Thompson. If you look for efficiency per game, it was Jokic. If you look for blocks per game, it was Wemby. If you look for turnovers, it was Luka. So SGA is not leading in any of these major statistics. And, you know, there's this whole stigma going around with the whole free throw thing. And, the other night in game one, when he didn't get all those free throws, let's just face it, he wasn't looking as strong as a player as he has in the regular season or in the playoffs leading up to that game. So I really feel like this award should have gone to someone else this year. But I'm not saying that like anyone got robbed or anything because I do think SGA
Mm,
has a
yeah.
very strong case of winning MVP. Like I said, he's one of the most valuable players in the league, and he definitely is on his team, and his team was the best team in basketball. So yeah, I'm not too upset about it, but I definitely think that it could have gone to Jokic.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll go ahead and go into our game one discussions, which I must say these first two game ones of the conference finals have to be some of the best games that I have ever seen as a basketball fan. Just two crazy games, crazy in their own ways. We'll start by talking about the Spurs versus the Thunder. Mason, what are your thoughts on this game, and where do you think you see the rest of the series going?
Yeah, I mean, it just picked right off of how the other 4 games went previously in the regular season. Um, like you mentioned, Wemby having to hear the SGA, award ceremony of him winning the MVP right before the game. I don't know if you saw the video of him just sitting down, staring like into the abyss. It looked like. Um, it shows why he should have deserved at least a little more, just kind of with his passion and the way he plays. But SGA had 7 field goals, and Wemby had just as many rebounds as SGA did points, which I thought was pretty crazy. Wemby had 41 and 24, and I don't remember the assist off my head, but it was just a dog fight through and through. Alex Caruso was, doing his thing, made a big impact later on the stretch, and then Wemby really took over whenever he needed to. That pull up three, which felt like from 50 feet away, to really get back into the game, I thought was just unbelievable. But at the end of the day, it's like this is what he's made for. This is what he does. He thrives in those crazy atmospheres, and it doesn't matter whether he's in San Antonio or in OKC. He's gonna play just as hard, and the crowd won't be a factor for him just because of how hard he plays. And then Stephon Castle, I thought it was pretty crazy. He played well. Did he have 11 turnovers that game? Was that
I think so. I don't have the
I can't
exact
remember if
stats
it was
pulled up.
that game or the game before, but um, again, he didn't look as strong as games previously. So Vassell or Harper, like I mentioned, had 24. So it really just felt like Wemby had it all on his back, and then he led this team to winning game one, stealing game one on the road. So um, I thought I know he's going to be the talk of game one, but I could see this series going seven. I don't think it's going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep in any way because OKC is going to show that they're the number one seed at the end of the day. So I know everyone's like, oh, Wemby can't be stopped. Sure, but that's just how it's going to be. It's going to go 7 games. So yeah,
Yeah, this game one is going to become an all-time classic. This is going to be a game that people talk about for a long time. Double
yeah,
overtime thriller against two of the best teams in basketball. Wemby is just unbelievable. He is one of one. I don't know if we'll ever see a player that has the skill set that he has again. If I told you 5 years ago that there would be a 7'5" center pulling from near half court to tie the game without it being like a buzzer beater or a last second heave, I think that you would look at me like I'm crazy, but that's just the way he is. He's built for those moments, and he can do it in the paint. He can do it fading away. He can do it from three. He's athletic. He just does it all, and it's really fun to watch. I don't think I've had a more fun time watching someone play basketball than I have watching him. He's just unbelievable. And that game one really lived up to the expectations because we had been saying it all season
yeah.
long.
Since
All
the
season
beginning of
long,
the
fans have
season,
been, we
yeah,
want to see Spurs and Thunder. We want to see Spurs and Thunder. And as each of those matchups happened during the regular season, we wanted it even more because it was just such great games. And boy, it lived up to the hype. And I think that this will go 7 games because, like you said, Thunder are no like bad team. They're actually the favorites of this series. So I think that this is going to be a very fun series to watch. It's going to be one that's talked about for a long time. I think SGA and the Thunder bounce back in game two, and then we go from there. Um, but yeah, this was just an absolutely classic game. Super fun to watch. I know you and me were texting throughout the whole overtime period of that game. It was just crazy to see. And I will say this: that whole Wemby versus Chet rivalry is also just adds to the fun of being able to watch that. But I will say this: Chet needs to step up in game two
oh
because he
yeah,
barely shot the
oh
ball. He's
yeah.
gonna have to do something in game two. But yeah, I like I said, I think Thunder win game two, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think another thing to kind of just add on to that is that we mentioned it earlier, the nonchalantness. I think this is where it goes out the window. You can't lose
Hmm.
2 at home. You gotta show passion. You gotta show these guys, hey, if we lose 2 at home, it's a very big problem to go back to San Antonio. That atmosphere has to be one of the most underrated atmospheres in the association. So, um, yeah, I think this is where it's buckle up or go home time. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I will say this: Alex Caruso, fantastic job in game
right,
one. He
yeah,
really kept that Thunder team in it, and he's just that guy that's on the other team that you're watching. You're like, man, I just can't stand this
yeah,
guy, but
yeah.
it's really just because he's doing everything right. He's hustling, he's making the plays, he's keeping his team together. So shout out to Alex Caruso with a huge game one, and the Spurs not having De'Aaron Fox and being able to steal that game, that's like the one true veteran that this Spurs team has out of the guards, because all their guards are very young outside of him.
Mhm.
So for them to be like Dylan Harper, like we've talked about, the step up and stuff, Stephen Castle having a fantastic game as well. That's very promising to see. We'll see if De'Aaron Fox is back for game two. But yeah, just a very fun game all around. And like you said, I agree. I think the nonchalantness will be thrown out the window. And yeah, this should just be a fun series. I'm so excited to
I
watch
can't
these
wait.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting the game two's tonight.
Yep, yep. Game 2 is tonight, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll go ahead and talk about the other game one, which was felt like a completely different game, but was exciting in its own way. Another overtime thriller. We had the Knicks versus the Cavs. The Knicks pulling away with the comeback victory. Obviously, the Cavs blowing a 22-point lead. Mason, what are your thoughts on this game, and where do you see this series going?
So just as a fan, the first 3.5 quarters, like, it just felt like it was done. Just came out sloppy, man. Just had no answer for Donovan Mitchell. That it he's a baller in his own sense, but it seems like whenever he plays against New York or is in New York, back to his roots, he just becomes like a something insane. So he does what he does best, and he scores, he makes plays. But the just the way that they went about it, I couldn't believe, because like when you go down or you're up 22 points and then you see that lead going away, and Kenny Atkinson not deciding to call a timeout to make a change, when you see whoever has the ball towards the end of the fourth going straight at James Harden, who's known to be a bad defender, and just letting them chip away, I think is a very interesting strategy nonetheless, because that's ultimately what led them to have a chance of winning the game. And then not only that, it's not having the ball in Donovan Mitchell's hand in that same time period where you're letting the lead get away. You're going into overtime, and Donovan Mitchell is not the primary ball handler. And it's just, you saw what happened. Brunson was the main one who was holding on to the ball. He was swinging the ball around. Shout out McCall. Shout out Landry Shamet for making the threes and the plays that they needed to. But I mean, it was really questionable because they weren't sticking with what's working in the entirety of the game. So just seeing that complete downfall and just everything breaking apart at the end, it really kind of leads you to point fingers in several different directions. So I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, that game was interesting, like you said.
Yeah.
One of the crazier comebacks we've seen. I saw the whole record thing where it was like two and a crazy number of teams that have made
Hmm.
that comeback before. Um, but when you look at the box scores, I mean, it was really just Donovan Mitchell versus Jalen Brunson. No, both
Yeah.
teams didn't
Yeah.
have a single player over 20 points besides those two guys. So I think the rest of the series is really going to be who can help those guys out, and
Hmm.
if whichever team has more help is going to end up winning this series. I feel like, um, yeah, it was a very interesting game, but James Harden like going 1 for 8 from three, that just can't happen in a game like this. I mean, you got
Open
traded to
threes.
be yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Open threes. You got traded to be a guy that can really help out in the scoring department. And if you're not going to score your traffic cone on defense, and like we saw, that was detriment to the
Turnovers.
team.
Yeah.
Yep, turnovers. So if you're not gonna do your job scoring, then you're really no help to the team at all, and actually are negative for the team. So he's going to have to step it up in game 2. Was really hoping for more from Evan Mobley, 2 for 8 from three. He didn't look the
Hmm.
best. Jared Allen only getting 6 shots off. I feel like when the Cavs offense is at its best, it's when he's scoring a lot in the paint. And because that opens up everything for the Cavs. So I would like to see him get more aggressive. I don't think that Dean Wade needs to be starting in the lineup. I think you need to put Struess out
Not
there
at
instead.
all. Not at all.
Um, I get that Struess also struggled. I think he was 2 for 6 from three, so he didn't have the best game either. But he is
He felt
just
more
I think he's
limited.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I just feel like he should be in the lineup over Dean Wade, but maybe that's just me being biased as a Heat fan, knowing what Struess can do. Um, and then you look at the Knicks side. Carl Anthony Towns only going 1 for 5 from three.
Mm.
Again, this is supposed to be the number 2 guy on a team. He should be, at least in the 20-point range. I feel like, as should have like James Harden being in the 20-point range as well. Yeah, I just really feel like it was just the Brunson versus Donovan Mitchell show. And as the game got out of hand, the ball got out of Donovan Mitchell's hands.
For
So
no reason.
for
No
no reason
reason.
whatsoever.
That's
So I
so
feel like
bad.
yeah, I feel like
Like,
this was just a really poorly managed game by Cleveland. They really let this one get away. This is a type of loss where I'm like, I don't know if Cleveland's going to be able to recover. I could really see this being a 5-game series if I'm being completely honest. I think that the Knicks will win this series in 5. I look at this Cavs team on paper. I was telling you this last night. I look at the Cavs
Yeah.
roster on paper, and I'm like, man, this is a really well built team. You got two very talented guards. You got a forward that can shoot, and then you got two towers at power forward and center that can patrol the paint, play good defense, score in the paint. Mobley's become very good at shooting from the three. So you look at this team and you're like, how do they struggle? And then you watch a game like last night and you're like, oh, I see it now. This team is just like, I don't think they have the basketball IQ of like a championship caliber team. I really don't. And I think this has been the thing for years now. We obviously knew the lights
Yeah.
were too bright team. That was kind of in that similar situation. And I think the Knicks are just a more talented team. I think they got smarter guys on their team. I think they're more comfortable in these situations. So yeah, I really don't see the Cavs standing a chance in this series.
So I was watching Inside the NBA Inside, whatever it was, with Charles and Shaq and all them, and it's like when you're going in this kind of rough stretch towards the end of the game, you got to stick with what you had working. If you're just not playing well with what was working before and they're just heating up, there's really nothing you can do. But they probably did the worst thing possible with not calling in timeouts when they were going down and or when the lead was going down and getting the ball out of Donovan Mitchell's hands. That's two horrible negatives going against each other, and there was obviously no positive to that. So um I it really makes you wonder how a team like that kinda comes back into game 2 because Knicks are riding high after that. They feel like they got away with one at home, um, when they really I did not think that they were gonna come away with that win at all, so, um, yeah, it's just it really leaves question marks coming into game 2, like, who's got the hot hand and who's gonna come out and do what because they're gonna give Donovan Mitchell the ball and see if they can draw something up for him, but, yeah, it's we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with these teams at the end of the day is you know that Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson are going to show up, but then you
Right.
look at the Cavs and it's like you kind of have to question if anyone else is going to show up. Like you know that James Harden's talented to take over a game, but is he going to?
Mhm.
You know that Evan Mobley's talented enough to take over a game, but you don't know if he's going to. Whereas you look at the Knicks, you know that Carl Anthony Towns is going to come back next game and have a better game. You know that Mikal Bridges is going to have a solid game. You know that OG Anunoby is going to do his job. I
Yeah,
just think there's
yeah.
more consistency in this Knicks team, and I think that that's ultimately going to be what wins them this series.
Yeah, we will see. We will
Yeah, we'll
see.
see what happens with that. Two crazy game ones. Looking forward to keep breaking them down as they go on. But yeah, we'll go ahead now and slide over to the MLB and do our players and teams of the week. So Mason, who is your MLB player of the week?
Mine is Gavin Sheets with the Padres. This past week, he had a 625 average, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 2177 OPS. Just absolutely insane. Caught the hot hand and really riding with it on that Padres team.
Yeah, I went with Gavin Sheets as well, just because his stats were just so much better than everyone else that could have qualified
Hmm.
for player of the week. He was absolutely fantastic. 10 for 16, like you said,
Yeah.
625 average, just insane, really helping out that Padres team that is now only a half a game back from the Los Angeles Dodgers in first place. So, yeah, shout out to Gavin Sheets. And now we'll go ahead and slide over to our team of the week.
I went with the Cleveland Guardians. 7-3 in their last 10. They have a 4-game win streak, and I think that they hold the first wild card seed, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, they're 20-22. So I think they're looking a lot better than people are kind of giving them credit for. Because in the beginning of the seasons, everyone's kind of caught under the hot teams. The teams that are going the 10-3, the 18-5, the stuff like that. But then when you kind of catch the steam back and you go 28-22, I mean, it looks better in the long run. So Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, for my team of the week, this one pains me to do, but I'm gonna go with the Chicago White Sox, who are 8-2 in their last 10, and they're 25-23. This is the first time since like 2020, I believe, where they've had a team that's over 500 at this point in a season. So this is a team that's been really bad, but they're starting to really turn it around. They have a legit offensive trio and Montgomery and Murakami and Vargas. Those are three legit bats. And they're young, they're talented. Their pitching's still pretty bad, but their offense is so good that they're able to win games. They beat the Cubs in the Crosstown series over the weekend. They looked like the better team over the weekend. So this is just really good for White Sox fans who have dealt with a team that's been really bad recently. In the last 30 days, the White Sox are first in home runs, RBIs, OBP, slug, and OPS. So this is just a very talented team on the offensive end, and they deserve to be shouted out.
Crazy.
All right. Finally, we're going to go ahead and slide over to the UFC because some pretty huge news broke. But the real question is this going to actually happen? And what I'm talking about, Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway 2 has been announced to happen in July. Mason, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think the fight will happen? And if the fight happens, does Conor McGregor even stand a chance against a guy like Max Holloway?
I think it's giving me Chandler McGregor announcement like vibes. I mean, I think the media is really biting onto this more than it did the other one, but I'm still not moved in the slightest. I think I told you I have like a 15 to 20% feeling of this happening. And even if it does, like you mentioned, does he have a chance? Holloway's been doing this consistently for much longer than McGregor's been out, so I don't know. We kind of mentioned this talking together before. I think McGregor just goes a completely different fight style, even if he does come back. And I don't. Obviously, it won't be perfected. So Holloway has his craft perfected. Um, if it happens, I think Holloway wins, but it'd still be cool even if he does. If I do see him walking in the octagon, if I see him weighing in, the pressers, it'd be great to see, kind of for like a nostalgic purpose. But um, I don't know. I don't think he really stands much of a chance, to be honest.
Yeah, if this fight between McGregor and Holloway happens, it'll be one of the biggest fights, if not the biggest fight of the year, as far as fans wanting to come and watch
Right,
a
right.
UFC fight. So I feel like that's why the media is really hyping this up. But like you said, I just don't
Mhm.
know if I see this fight happen. McGregor's just so like unpredictable outside of UFC right now. He's very unstable. I don't even know if this guy can pass a drug test, if I'm being completely honest. He only has a little bit of time to like really,
Yeah,
he doesn't have a
July,
time to get a
yeah.
full camp in really, unless he's been training behind the scenes this whole time. But I don't know. I just don't know if I trust McGregor after the whole Chandler situation. I said this and I'm going to stand on this. I'm not going to believe he's fighting until he's in the cage and I hear the bell ring for round one and I see them touch gloves. I'm not going to believe he's fighting again until that happens. So I really don't see this fight happening. But if it does, I think Holloway wins this easily. I mean, McGregor hasn't fought in 5 years. Holloway's been fighting the past 5 years, obviously, and he's been putting some pretty impressive wins. He's looked like he's towards the top of his career. I know his last couple fights he's looked a little bit different, but he's still that guy at the end of the day. And I think that he would absolutely sleep McGregor. I just don't see McGregor standing a chance. But hey, crazier things have happened. We'll see. But ultimately, I'm not getting my hopes up for this fight. I don't see it happening.
My question is like, why give him Holloway, like coming back? Like, I get the payday, I get the card, like the hype and everything, but like, I mean, I feel
I
like
mean,
there's other people that you can waste their time with, and Holloway. Well, I guess this is kind of like a good comeback win for Holloway.
yeah, I think this at the end of the day, this is just to get viewers. You know what I mean? This
Yeah,
is like this is the
yeah,
fight
yeah,
to get a ton of viewers. I know obviously I'm watching if this fight happens, so
yeah.
um I think that's what it comes down to. But I think all you need to know is look at the rest of the card and see how stacked it is. That shows you everything you need to know about how confident Dana is in this fight happening. Because he's got a fight in the co-main that is good enough to be a
Is
headliner
yeah,
fight, and
yeah.
there's a reason for that. It's if McGregor pulls out, they'll be able to slot that fight into the main event. So just don't get your hopes up is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty much going to wrap up this episode. So thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason. Sign off for now. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you guys.